This is a production of Gordon College's Scot Radio.
Scot Radio.
Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Ben Schneider Show. My guest today is Jacob Almeida, another one of my cross-country teammates, freshman here at Gordon. So, Jacob, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So, usually my guests, I'd like to just start from the very beginning. So tell me about where you grew up and ultimately what brought you here to Gordon.
Okay. So basically I grew up in a small city, not very large, back in New York, around maybe 5 minutes from the Albany area. Yeah, definitely a very small town. And basically originally I wanted to go into the Marines, and I didn't think about college really until maybe my sophomore year. And I had this accident where I broke both bones of my arm and had to have emergency surgery, and basically that changed my whole view of where I wanted to go with life. And basically after that I started actually thinking about colleges, and I visited only 2 colleges actually. I visited MCLA, which is also in Mass, and I came here to visit. And originally when I first came for both visits, MCLA and my first visit at Gordon, my major that I wanted to do at the time was actually theater and arts. So that was my first decision, thought idea. But basically the way I found Gordon was I wanted to stay like a Christian school, and I basically just Googled Christian schools, top Christian schools in the U.S., and Gordon was pretty close to the top almost every time. And I was like, why not give it a try? It was very consistent. Gordon was towards the top. And I looked up on the website of where it was. And I noticed it was Mass, and I was like, that's not very far away from where I'm from home. It's only 3.5 hours. And I booked my visit, and as soon as I came in for my first visit, I was like, this is the place. But when I was at my first visit, my major was still theater and arts.
So what caused what's your major now?
So my major now is Christian ministries, and then I'm concentrating in youth min.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, but what caused the switch? Why did you
go
from theater to that?
Basically, I thought, what am I going to do with, theater and arts? What would I do from there after I graduate? And I gave it a lot of thought. I grew up in a small church, and it didn't have too much youth. And I always, had the idea of being a pastor or a youth pastor. And it kind of, once I noticed, the program here, it's a very nice program. And I kind of just thought, why not Christian ministries? I grew up in the church from when I was 9-ish, and that's when I changed. I was like, I want Christian ministries.
So what classes have you been taking? I mean, obviously it's your first semester.
Yeah,
but
so
are you getting your core out of the way now, or have you taken more classes dedicated to that?
I'm in historical perspectives, and then I have Old Testament, and those I believe are core. Yeah.
I took both of those my first semester freshman year too. So.
Yeah. Definitely nice classes. I love historical perspectives.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who do you have for that?
Dr. Forkamp.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had Dr. Wick. So that was a good class. I'm more of a US history guy.
Yeah.
So obviously, we kind of just go from the beginning of time to you get to about the 1500s, the Renaissance in that class. So U.S. history is more my thing, but I still enjoyed it. Of all the core classes that, not really associated with what you want to do, but you have to take for your liberal arts education, I thought it was a pretty good class.
Yeah, it's a very nice class. I also take Foundations of Youth Ministry, and I'm currently in ecclesiology as well.
So what do you want to do with this degree that you're going to get?
So basically, since I grew up in such a small, church, the numbers in youth was very low. a lot of the time it was just myself and my older sister. And then there were other times where we had maybe 5 or 6 more people. But my goal is, like, after I graduate, I want to travel around the home area and slowly, like, help churches that have small youth programs rebuild and, like, grow their youth. Because, like, a lot of things, like, in life, you can't really go anywhere if you don't have, like, a younger group that can grow into it.
Sure. Yeah, so obviously I know you from the cross-country team.
Yep.
So I want to get into that a little bit. When did you start running, and what kept you going all the way through college now?
So I didn't, like, start running cross-country until high school. But before that, I was running 5Ks here and there. But originally, after high school, I was like, I don't want to do cross-country. I just want to stay strictly track and go from there. And when I got to Gordon and I contacted coach, or I don't remember how it went, he contacted me and wanted me to do cross-country. And originally I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I just want to stay track and do what I wanted to do in track. And he told, Coach Weicker told me that it would help track out later on. And I feel like it has.
Yeah.
Like, definitely.
I'm sure you definitely run a lot more this fall than if you
Yes.
had just been training on your own for track. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
definitely.
was the opposite because I like you. I was at a very small community in school growing up.
Yeah.
So we actually didn't have a track team. We
Really?
just had cross country.
Oh, wow.
So when I came here, I thought I'll just probably just do cross country because I don't have a lot of experience doing track, and I didn't realize
Yeah.
how much overlap there is between
Yeah.
the two. Coach is a really good. He's really good at persuading you
Yes.
to
Yeah.
come over and try the other side out, and
Yeah.
and I'm glad I did. I actually, personally, the way I see it now is like I think I enjoy track even a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just because I like the flat surface, and
Yeah. No hills.
there's no like course analysis that you have to do, like analyze the night before, think about where you're going to make your move, because everybody's on the same
Yeah.
4-mile track the whole time. So yeah, so you're doing cross country in high school.
Yep.
But were there any other sports that you were playing before that?
So I wanted to experiment when I was going up through from middle school to high school. So in middle school I did only soccer and baseball. And then after middle school I swapped over to soccer and cross country at one point. And then I was in wrestling and then also outdoor track. But like I originally never actually wanted to do wrestling. So like my coach kind of persuaded me to do it from basically just seeing me one day when wrestling season started. It was like, hey, you should do wrestling. And I was like, okay, why not? And I went upstairs, got my blue card to be able to do it, and the next day I was practicing. So that was a long season as a freshman. But I also, at one point, I tried out for the bowling team.
You had to, were you high school at a bowling team?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Were there other schools you competed at? I don't really think of that
Yes.
as a school sport.
So they went around the state and just went against different teams. They would just, I don't know how it works. They just bowled, and I guess whoever has the higher score wins. I don't really understand it that much. I try it out anyway. But
Did you ever play for them?
No, I never actually made it. So I tried
Okay.
out one year and I just didn't make it, and I was like, yeah, nope, that's not my sport, so I'm just going to move on.
Is that something you enjoyed doing just recreationally?
Oh
for
yeah,
fun?
yeah, bowling is I love bowling. It's so much fun. But yeah, just like I was very experimental with all the different sports.
Yeah. Well, I know you mentioned just before we came on the air you had some wrestling stories you maybe wanted to tell. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your career in that.
So wrestling was definitely, I would say a lot of people don't consider it fun, but I thought it was so much fun. But like my first ever practice as a freshman, I was not expecting what I went through. So we were doing drills in the beginning, just kind of going over stuff because it was first day of practice. Well, for some, it was more or less the second day for the other people. And we were going over everything. And then next thing I know, we're going live wrestling. And I was like, I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what's going on? And everyone just starts going. And then I'm just like, wow, that's a lot of work. And after we live wrestled, we did, what was it? It was conditioning. And I was like, why would we drill, then live wrestle, and then run? What's the point of that? And after that first practice, as soon as like we finished, I was like, I don't feel very good because I wasn't used to all that running, and I also ate a big lunch that day. And next thing I know, practice is all done, and I'm running outside because I have to go get sick. And I went outside, I did my thing, I came back inside, I felt great. And then I went and found a janitor. I was like, yeah, I just want to let you know I got sick outside, so please like just maybe go clean it up for me, please. And the janitor looks at me and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And I just went about my day after that. But practices for wrestling were very, very long. We went from right after school, which was like, we finished at 2:40, but we started practice around like 3:45, and we didn't finish until like 6. And during the winter, that's like super late because it's so dark out.
Yeah.
Like, it's already getting dark at like 4 now. It's crazy. But practices were always super long. My sophomore year, I was doing really well, and then I ended up getting into that accident. So basically,
Was that a wrestling related accident? Or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It was actually, my partner was very scarred after that. Basically, we had a match rescheduled for a Monday afternoon, and we had to practice Sunday the day before, so we make sure everyone's on weight. And basically, we were almost done with practice, and we're doing, we were doing something where we had to pick the person up and put him back down, and then pick him up, put him back down, and we did it 3 times and then live wrestled. We were on the last one just before we were gonna condition, and we go up, go back down, and we're just about to go live wrestle, and as I come back up, my arm was in a weird position, and both the bones just couldn't handle the pressure that it was in, and it ended up breaking both of them. And it was a very long day. I had to be rushed to the emergency room because both bones were broken, but I come to find out one of the bones popped out of like my arm. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, it was a very long day. I went to one hospital, and something happened to where they couldn't take me, and I had to be transferred to another hospital about maybe 20 minutes away. That, being transferred from, like, hospital to hospital is not fun. Like, especially with a broken arm, you're just hooked up to everything, making sure you're not in pain. And the only thing I remember from being transferred was being put onto the stretcher to leave.
So you don't remember anything about the ride over to the other place?
I have no clue what happened on the way over. And then I got to the second hospital, and then I'm laying in the bed, and I look at my parents, and I'm like, I really want McDonald's. And they were like, okay, we'll have to talk to the doctor to make sure it's okay that you can actually eat before your surgery. And they did that, and then next thing I know, my dad's gone, and he comes back a little bit later with chicken nuggets and a burger. And I was like, that's perfect. That's what I need right now. And maybe a little bit after that, we get a knock on the door. I have 2 visitors. They're both my teammates. One was the one that was my partner when everything happened, and then the other one was just one of the teammates that could, like, drive. And he has a box of chocolates, and he, like, kind of plops it in my lap. And meanwhile, I'm not able to move. My arm is resting on my chest. The broken one's resting on my chest, and my other one's got the IV in it. And I'm terrified to move my arm with the IV, so it's just laying there. I look down at the chocolates, and he looks at me, and he says, I'm sorry that I broke your arm. And then slowly like backed up and leaned against the wall. And I looked at him and said, "It's not your fault. Like it just happened. It was like a freak accident." But yeah, that was a long year. That was a long recovery time. I had.
Oh. What did the rehab consist of? Because I imagine it's a pretty bad injury.
I actually didn't go to physical therapy. I was very surprised. But basically I just kind of laid in bed all the time. I missed about 2 or 3 weeks of school, and I just laid in bed and did nothing. I had a big cast on, and when they had to remove that was pretty gross, because like you're not moving your arm or doing anything with like any broken like limb, and they take the cast off and it's just so skinny and it looks like so nasty. And it was like, I think the thing that made like me not want to get the cast off was because my hand was orange because of the iodine to like clean before they had the surgery. And when they took it off, I knew there was going to be a bunch of orange all over my arm, and it just wasn't pleasing to look at. But I had 30 plus staples in my arm, just because they had to go in on both sides of my arm. So now I have like 2 massive scars. I can show you here.
Oh, wow.
On both sides. And then when it gets cold out, you can see where the staples marks were. But when after I had the staples removed, I was fine. I was recovering. I was in a small brace, and I just had to be careful. I couldn't do physical activity for like 2 or 3 months, and I ended up missing like the first half of the track season because of recovery time. And then next season came around, and I was wrestling fine, and then next thing I know, I'm constantly in pain in my arm, and it was the outside of my arm, and I always had to like sit out at least 20 minutes every practice, which was terrible because you lose so much time with that, especially with wrestling. And after the season, I talked to my parents. We went to the doctor that did my surgery. He looked at it, and he told me that it was just probably from the muscles growing back over. It's just rubbing and causing irritation. And they gave me the option to get my outside plate taken out because I have 2 plates in. And I took that opportunity, and that maybe towards the end of the school year, just after track finished, I got the outside plate removed. And then now I just have the 1 plate now.
So you still have it in there
yes,
to this day?
Yeah, the inside plate cannot be removed because they said it would be too dangerous for the removal because of the muscle that's grown.
So does that still affect you?
When it gets cold, like earlier, I noticed I was like, it's gonna be a rough season because my arm was starting to get sore, and I was like, this is gonna be either a really like rough winter or I just need to man up because I haven't like had the pain since last winter.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and it's only when it gets cold it'll get sore, but like to the point, like not to the point where I can't use my arm.
Yeah. So what's the timeline for this? Like, when was your injury? Sophomore year, you said?
Yeah,
or?
sophomore
Okay.
year at the end of the wrestling season. I got my plate removed at the end of outdoor my junior year.
Okay. So did you wrestle senior year then?
Yes, I wrestled.
Okay.
I wrestled.
How did that go?
So, I wasn't a bad wrestler, but I also wasn't the best. I was an average. I'd say average wrestler. I had more wins than losses my senior year, which I've never had before. I placed 3rd at our Colonial Council Championship, which we called CCs, which was our division, and I made it to sectionals, and I ended up losing my first round because the kid was better than me. He was seated lower than me, but the kid was just better than me and out-wrestled me that match, and I ended up going 1 and done at sectionals.
So, is that something you really enjoyed doing?
Yeah, so wrestling I absolutely love, and I've been actually looking at different tournaments back home to do sometime in March, but I'm not sure if I'm definitely going to do them or not because I'm not sure how our schedules go.
Like over spring break?
Yeah, I'd have to double check.
We usually get about half the week. So,
yeah.
like Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning we'll have a practice, and then Coach will send us home.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe there'd be something.
Maybe, I don't know. I have to look. I'm not sure. I believe there's one somewhere by my home, maybe half an hour away. I always said I was going to do, but never did back home when I was in high school. But I definitely miss it. If they offered it here, I would do it 100%. But they don't, so I was like, all right, I got to do my next sport, which was track.
Yeah. So that's a nice transition. Let's roll right into that. I guess you said you ran a little bit for fun, but you didn't do cross country till high school. So what do you remember from your time in high school doing it?
So high school, our team was very small for cross country, but track, it was a larger group. For cross country, we had barely enough people on the team to be able to actually compete in certain meets. So like my freshman and sophomore year, I did soccer and cross country, but I was only allowed to do the meets on the weekends for cross country because of the schedules. But after that, I was like, not going to do soccer anymore, strictly individual sports. So I stayed with cross country. Our team wasn't awful, but we were also not the best. We all had different times, like wide range of times. So we had one kid that was very fast. Then we had myself and one of my closest friends. We were like maybe minutes apart from each other, sometimes not too close either. And then we had like a few other kids. I don't remember what the amount was required to be able to compete. I think it was 5 in high school. But we always almost never placed in any meet we had. We'd always be one of the last teams because of the wide range of people we had. But for track, that was like a complete different story. When I did start, I believe I started sophomore year. Because I started late because of the surgery. I was recovering. I did hurdles, the 400 hurdles. And I was very
That's a tough
proud
race
of
to
myself for it. There was one meet that I placed 3rd in the race, and it was just completely I was in the slow heat, and I still placed 3rd overall, and it shocked me. And then I was full of myself after that. Next season comes around, very first meet, I'm doing 400 hurdles. Gun goes off, and we're going. I miss the first hurdle and completely laid out. And then I was like, well, that's really embarrassing. So I stopped doing hurdles after that.
So you haven't done them since?
No, I have not done hurdles since. I did try steeplechase, though.
Okay.
Steeplechase is a lot of fun. Senior year, again, I did it for we have a big home meet where we had a lot, 12, 13 teams come. And we had steeplechase as an option, but it was very cold, so no one wanted to do it. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. Why not? It'll be fun. I'm going, doing great. Next thing I know, I misstep one of the hurdles, and I slammed down on my shin off of the steeple. And I finished the race, and I'm like, wow, I'm in a lot of pain. My shin hurts a lot. I ended up missing the open 8, and I was just like, well, that's awful. And it was, I ended up breaking skin, so I had this massive bruise on my shin from just completely misstepping a steeple.
But not a bone break this time.
No, not a bone
break. So not
break.
nearly as serious.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Wait, so how tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
Yeah, so
I'm not.
So how did you end up
6 foot.
doing hurdles if you're only 5'6"?
I can jump. I have decent vertical height, not horizontal height. I did try long jump. I love long jump. That's so much fun. But I can jump somewhat high, so I was able to get over the hurdles with ease. But it was also high school height.
Sure.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Completely different than a college level height.
So you're not going to be hurdling?
No,
in the
I do
spring,
not plan on hurdling.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we'll get into track later on. I want to ask you about the season that we just had. So I guess maybe I don't know, you mentioned briefly your conversation with Coach Weichert, but what did you expect when, I guess when we were out at base camp, doing preseason stuff, you're first getting a taste of what the team was like?
So when we first started preseason, I was more afraid of how much more running we were going to do than what I was used to. So when we started, we did the timed runs. I'm really used to distance runs, not completely different. So my dad and I, when we trained together, we went distance-wise. We never went time-wise. So if we had a long run, it was maybe 7-8 miles. And then coming into preseason, it was timed. So the easy run we had, it was an hour-ish. And then the long runs was hour and a half, 2 hours. So it was definitely different because I was never actually running that long. I would always run the distance, and then if I got tired, I would stop when I was home. So it was definitely a big step.
I remember that because a long run for me in high school was 45 minutes, and now it's that's the easy run that we do the day before meet.
Yeah.
Maybe we might even go a little bit longer than that. Even.
Definitely, yeah. It was a big step into something completely I wasn't used to. At first, I was I almost backed out at the very beginning because I was having what I thought was hip issues. Come to find out, my IT band was just super tight all the time. And I almost backed out. It was maybe a few days before the season, preseason was going to start. And I texted coach and was explained what was going on. And then he told me that we do the stretches, the band stretches, and it should help strengthen my hips. And I started doing a little bit of the band stretches when I was home, and it was helping out somewhat. So I was all right, that's fine. And then either way, I was still going to go to preseason because coach said that we'd do more and it would help me out. And when we started preseason and doing the actual stretches, it helped out so much that all the pains went away until we ran up or down hills, and then that's when the pain came back. And then when we ran UNE, which was the really hilly course.
Right. Yeah. I guess that was our first 8K. It was our second meet.
Yeah.
Battle of North Shore is only a 5K, but.
Yeah. I felt all the pain because of all the hills, and when I finished, I was in so much pain, and I just kind of sat down on the ground because I didn't know what else to do. Because normally what I do is when I'm practicing or even in anything, I don't normally stop when I feel the pain. I think that if I'm not feeling pain, I'm not going hard enough. So that's an issue I have. So I just kind of sat down and I was wow, I'm in a lot of pain. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to sit here. And Toro and Mikey noticed, and they had me go over to a trainer, and she looked at it, and I thought it was my hip, but she told me that it was my IT band, and that's when I first found out about that. And after that, I had Edison hammer my hips or IT bands, and then occasionally my calves when they got tight. And then other than that, it just got better from there. And yeah.
So you didn't really have to deal with it the rest of the season?
Not really. It came back here and there. Before the second or third to last meet, it was my T-band was really getting tight, but not to the point where it was before. And I just had Eddie hammer it out, and it was fine.
Was that the Franklin Park meet?
I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, the pain was periodically, it'd go away at certain points and then come back other times, but now it's been really light pain, not much at all. So I'm really hoping that it's fine, for good.
Yeah, well, you seem pretty fine now, so hopefully that won't be an issue during track. But yeah, I want to ask you about Saturday, because you had the privilege of being one of our top 7 that raced at Bowdoin at regionals. So Tell me about that experience, what the race was like, because I was just an alternate. I guess I know pretty much what the course was like, but it was a lot colder the actual day of the meet.
Yeah.
So was the terrain frozen over like we were expecting? Or?
Yeah, it was. There were certain points where there was just ice, and it was covered by snow, so you weren't knowing what you were running on till the second or third time you're running over it. But coming into the race, I was really, really nervous, and I don't know why. I was on the line, and I was like, wow, this is a really big meet, and I'm really nervous about, like, all the what ifs. Like, what if I fall at the start? What if I get bumped in the middle of the race and I fall then? Or, like, all the what ifs of, like, bad scenarios, and I just was in my head and just so nervous about it. Because I'm not used to, like, that many people running a race. Like, the biggest race that I ever had in high school was maybe 200 kids in total when we would go down to New York City for a race. And that's the biggest I had. And it was nothing, like, compared to what we ran on Saturday.
When you're a spectator, you see 60 teams lined up on the line, even though it's just top 7. You know, the magnitude of that is just so great.
It was 400 plus kids running people. I always say kids because I'm so used to high school. People just running. It's crazy.
Yeah. So did the pack, like, I mean, obviously it spreads out a little bit. But did you have somebody, at least a handful of runners around you, basically the whole race because of how many people were running?
When we first started, everybody was really jam-packed together, so it wasn't too hard to, like, know where you were going because you saw the people in front of you going. At one point, I was in a spot where there was, like, maybe 10, 15 feet, or no, even further, where the next person was, and then there was maybe even further distance for the person behind me. So, like, I was in a spot where it was like, all right, if I don't go a little bit faster, I'm going to lose these people, and I'm probably not going to know where I'm going, even though it's a loop. And it was like that for a little bit towards the end. But other than that, like, it was very jam-packed.
What was your time?
32 something.
Okay.
It wasn't my best race, and also wasn't my worst.
I don't know. I think we only had a handful of people PR just because the course had some ice over it, and just the temperature. And temperature affects everybody a little bit differently too.
Yeah, so. I haven't ran in that weather in so long, and that's the weather I'm used to from back home too. So I don't know why it was like felt so different. Cause back home we'd go to meets and it'd be really, really cold, but it wouldn't be snowy. The only time we had to run in the snow was my junior and senior year for our Colonial Council championships up in Saratoga area. And it was the one year it rained the night before, and then it was super cold, and then the next day it was snowing. And that was really cold. And then the next year, it snowed the night before and then warmed up the next day somehow. So there was water just, like, everywhere. There was a point in the race where there was this big, big puddle about the size of, like, a long jump pit, maybe even bigger. And it was as deep as, like, a long jump pit. And it was just straight water where you couldn't go around it and you could only go through it. And I've only had to run through water once. And it's because it downpoured the day before.
Is that the toughest meet you've ever done, you think, just conditions-wise?
Yeah, most likely, yeah. It's, like, for Saturday or, like, in the high school?
Well, yeah, just either one. Which one do you think was tougher?
I would say Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I've been an alternate all 3 years, so I'm really, really hoping I can get on that line next year. But I was not too devastated that I didn't have to run in those conditions.
Yeah, it was different. I wasn't expecting to, like, run on, like, such, like, the slippery spots, but I also guess it's because I don't have spikes. I've never worn, well, I can't say never. I never owned a pair of spikes ever, like, from high school until now. I still don't have spikes, actually. I have trainers. But I did try wearing spikes in outdoor track for certain races. There was one race where I was put in for the 4x4, and I didn't have spikes, and I was like, maybe this will help me. Maybe it'll make my time a little bit faster. Wore the spikes. I ran the race, and I didn't like the way they felt, so I just never wore them again because I just borrowed them from a person. But I don't typically wear spikes, and Coach noticed that at the race Saturday, and was questioning it. And he told me that we're going to try and get me used to wearing spikes for outdoor. So, going to give that a go.
I think once you get used to it, it will definitely help.
Yeah.
So, let's get into track. What are you excited for? What events are you looking to do?
So, in high school, I did, like, a lot. Like, I experimented on everything. I did pole vault at one point. I never tried high jump, but I don't think I'd be able to do that. That's very not my style. But
I think Chase has you covered on that one.
Yeah,
he's a very good high jumper. So,
I kind of want to try just like the open 8. Like that was my event in high school, so I feel like it'd be fun to do, or even like a distance race, because that's what I'm used to right now.
Sure.
So like that'd be something like I'd be willing to do. Like I'm open for everything. Anything that coach thinks would be good.
Yeah, that's a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
Be ready for whatever
Because
fits the team best.
Yeah. Because like in high school, my coach was always like, "Yeah, you're going to do this." And I was like, "But I've never done this race before." Like he stuck me in the 4x8 once, and I was like, "I've never done this before." So like I don't know how it works, how handoffs works or anything like that. And that was before I did the 4x4. And he stuck me in it, and we placed in the top 2 or top 3 for the race, and I ended up sticking with it. And we at sectionals for our outdoor year, for senior year actually, we ended up placing fourth for the 4x8, and we were 0.2 of a second off from placing third. So I would love to try the 800. I know I'm definitely not quick for an 800.
Do you remember what your PR was?
So my PR for an open 8 was a 212.
Okay.
So
That's not too bad.
Yeah. I averaged maybe a 215, like, with all the races combined.
That's about where I am, actually. So.
Yeah. So, like, my best race I did was a 212. The next time I raced was a 213 after that. And then I'd have one bad race or more than one, a few bad races where I ran, like, a 220. So I was all over the place. It was more or less how the training went the week before, how I ran.
Yeah. So would you want to make that your main event? Or what would you want your main event to be, I guess? What do you feel most comfortable with?
Most comfortable would probably be the 8, but
Sure.
I'm willing to go anywhere coach needs me to be. So, like, if he needs me somewhere, like, in the distance-wise, I'd be more than willing to go. I mean, that's how I've always been. When I played soccer, I was everywhere. Like, coach wanted me to play goalie, I'd jump in goal. Or if he needed me up as a striker, I'd go up and play as a striker. And that's what I'm used to, is being thrown around anywhere needed and just trying my best at it.
Would you want to do field events again?
So I wanted to try, in high school, I really wanted to try disc. I don't know what it is, and I still want to really try disc. And then I want to try long jump again. Not the best at it. I had a friend that out-jumped me every single meet. He was jumping 20s, and I was jumping 16s. So he was really good, I think. I don't know what's considered good in the college level.
No, I'm not a jumper, so... Yeah, anything else you'd be interested in trying?
I kind of want to try. I mean, because I did it in high school. I tried it in high school. Because I didn't have, like, a coach for it, really. So I was on my own just looking stuff up, which was pole vault. I was always constantly looking stuff up. And my coach was like, if you can, like, learn how to do it on your own and have, like, a bunch of ways to do it yourself without, like, needing me, like, you can do it. So I think we agreed on, like, every Tuesday I'd practice pole vault. And I did it once in a meet, and the best I did was 8 feet. So, like, the bare minimum to be able to jump.
Yeah. You said your friend was doing 20 feet in the long jump?
Yeah, his best was, like, I believe it was 20.
Yeah. So the measurements are all in meters here, but they got the feet in parentheses. But the school record is 6.27 meters, which is 20 feet and
Oh,
not
wow.
quite 7 inches. So
Yeah.
yeah, sounds like. So
Right
yes,
on.
that is a
Yeah.
very good score for college, at least for us
Yeah.
here in Division III. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I know you've been eager to get here in the studio, so I'm glad we finally were able to get an open slot for you.
Yeah,
And,
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you telling your story, and looking forward to track.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
I know you are too. So it's going to be a good year. I think we've got a lot of strong people on our team, particularly freshmen like you. So it's been great to have you on the team, and yeah, I'm looking forward to a great season.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
All right. Well, if you're listening live on Scot Radio, stay tuned for Will Lott's The Fresh Take. And if you're listening after the fact on YouTube or SoundCloud, thank you. And stay up to date. We've got some great guests lined up here as we head into Thanksgiving break and finish out the semester. So we'll keep you all updated on that. But for now, I'm Ben Schneider. We'll see you in the next episode. Have a good night, everybody.